Shot! Master! I'll pull out the Glock!
Full of suffering, succotash, son!
It's one of you nuts hanging out of your shorts.
Real glass! You have a father, but your father's dead.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Too Sweet Podcast. I'm Estelle. Lucy isn't with us this week, sadly. She is on holiday, the bitch, so it is just me today. So welcome to the train wreck. In the room of doom today, we've got a lovely ambience of a cereal bowl, a Lana Del Rey candle. What can I say? Anyways, Dynamite. Wow. Yeah, it was pretty good, wasn't it? It was pretty decent. I enjoyed it. I've been enjoying the direction of it for a few weeks now, and I feel like this was a great culmination of the, kind of stabilising the direction that they've been intending to be going in. And yeah, I thought it was a great show, so we're just going to dive straight in and run through the review. So, yeah, first of all, it started with Tony Khan opening the show in the neck brace, because the previous week, which unfortunately we didn't get to cover, apologies for that, but the previous week, the ending angle of the show was Jack Perry came out and was assisted by the Bucks and attacked Tony Khan, professing that he's doing this for the greater good of the company. And he kind of sold that on an interview. I'm sure many of you saw. He compared WWE to Harvey Weinstein, and said that AEW was the Pepsi of the wrestling world. I'm not sure what it means to be the Pepsi of the wrestling world, but I do prefer Pepsi Max to Coke. So, yeah. So, that was very controversial, and I think that kind of got more momentum than the actual angle, maybe, but then did the controversy put more eyes on the product? I don't know about that. But yeah, I mean, my take on that, I'll just kind of throw my 2 cents in, my 2p in. I mean, is he wrong? WWE is the Harvey Weinstein of the wrestling world, and the fact that people would have more outrage about him saying that rather than the acts of WWE, which is not just Vince McMahon, because it was a scandal that was covered up for a very long time by many people who fucking skived under that radar, many people who probably, like, fuck me, they can't believe they got away with it. So I think it's a bit ridiculous. I also just find in general the whole, I don't want to touch on this too long, but I also find the whole faux sort of concern about victims in these scandals, because I find that with a lot of wrestling fans, they on both sides, and on this side of Tony Khan saying this, it is kind of weaponizing, even though like he isn't wrong in saying it, is kind of weaponizing the trauma of not only Harvey Weinstein's victims, but also that of Vince McMahon's, while also hiring, Ric Flair, who has had many a controversy in the past, playing Ride from Hell. I was going to say the acts when he was in the territories, but pretty much his acts throughout his whole kind of career. So yeah, it's a bit hypocritical. But then what it does is it kind of turns it into tribalism over sex scandals, which is a bit icky for me. And it's kind of like there's some people who you can tell are really like getting kind of off on it. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, screw you, my company has less sex offenders than yours. And it's like, oh my god, do you know what I mean? Like, it's just, we've totally gone over the point. But yeah, kind of a bit of a sidestep there, a bit distracted there, but I just wanted to just throw out my thoughts and feelings on it. So yeah, I mean, it's a bit convoluted overall. Like, I do think him being attacked was a good angle, and using, when he said this, it was during an NFL interview, which thank God we're finally using that, because that's great marketing that you've had the whole time. So, you know, well done for putting an angle out there into the NFL world. And I don't know, I was going to say hopefully more eyes on the product, but I don't you know, it's kind of just maybe nothing more than just a quote tweet and a cheap pop moment, a cheap icky pop moment. But yeah, I mean, we could dive into that topic all day, of the Me Too movement in wrestling and the sort of reaction of people and the way people sort of handle that as though it's like, oh, hot gossip, you know, which it's all just very fucking weird to me. I'm not gonna lie, on all fronts, but you know, just people online having this. My point is, people online have this fake outrage of, oh my god, Tony Khan said, you know, this, and he doesn't care about the victims of Harvey Weinstein. It's like, do you? Let's also see your post history and, you know, what kind of things you're retweeting and what kind of controversies you've been talking about, you know, because you're there acting like you're Jesus. Anyways, I thought it was great, the continuation. I love a bit of long-term storytelling, and reality brought into wrestling. So I like the fact that, you know, he opened the show, like I say, with the neck brace and the book. He basically said, oh, I'm going to be running it from Jacksonville because I can't leave because of my injuries sustained. And the books sort of interrupted from the production, I was going to say production van, but I don't think they have a van in AEW. I think they're just doing the arena. But the production sort of centre, and we're like, no, we're taking over. And then proceeded to run an opener of Dynamite with the montage being just that of the Elite members, which I thoroughly thought was hilarious. I'm loving that sort of like breaking of the fourth wall. It's just making the whole show more dynamic, and yeah, it's just good. It's just interesting, it's refreshing, and it's really helping me feel like, yeah, I'm in a new era. Because, you know, being in a new era is more than just changing the song and changing, you know, the setup, even though they changed it to be back to the old way. And even it's more than even just bringing in new talent. You know, it's about direction, creative direction. So, you know, I'm enjoying it a lot, I'm not gonna lie. So then Swerve came out, and speaking of Swerve, I'm also going to bring in Collision. The last week's Collision was the third highest rating in all of the history of Collision running during its short tenure. Kind of short, been like, what, over a year now? Feels like it's been on forever though. But yeah, I think pretty sure his segment got the highest rating there. I want to say it was 1.3. It was definitely over a milli. So yeah, great news. Great news, you know, to all those who said Swerve is not a draw. Clearly, you are wrong. And also, you know, I think in general, talking about the controversy from before, and, you know, AEW's kind of had quite a bit of like outside sort of attention recently, I think, from I don't know, it just seems to sort of be capturing the IWC. I mean, it always does, 'cause people always have things to say, but with the Jack Perry thing, like I said, Tony's sort of comments, Swerve, I feel like there's definitely talks about AEW. It's definitely a hot topic in the IWC, and I personally think that I'm not going to say the product is hot, but I think it's heating up, and there's definitely, you know, seeds have been sown, and, you know, I was kind of like, well, we'll see where it goes, but I'm putting my faith more and more in the product every day, and it's starting to kind of become what it was before a little bit more, for the OG fans. So yeah, Swerve came out and he called out the EVPs, and he basically was like, well, who's going to be my double or nothing opponent? I know there's been a lot of speculation about said opponent. You would think that at some point we're going to bring back in Hangman. That is the red hot feud, but Recently as well, an injury list was put out, and it had, the physical injuries, but also people who were off for personal reasons. Pretty sure Adam Page is off for personal reasons, I think. Like, it wasn't disclosed. So yeah, that might be why he's not sort of in the picture at the minute. But I have, I don't think obviously personal reasons come first. But I think it's not doing any harm to the feud in that, like, the longer that you keep them apart, the more it's going to build, and the more Swerve is going to build himself up as a champion, and it's going to take it to the next level when Paige does get back. But yeah, I had no idea what sort of direction they were going to take it in. There's plenty of great matchups. And again, like I've said many times on this podcast, I do believe that the main event for Wembley will be Swerve vs Ospreay, and Ospreay will take the title off him at Wembley as sort of a babyface, hometown crowning champion moment, feel good ending to All In. But yeah, I had no idea what would come in the middle. But the Bucks sort of interrupted his promo and said it's going to be fined for using curse words, which I thought was quite amusing. And the Bucks suggested Christian as his opponent, who came out, which, again, we haven't seen much of Christian since he lost the TNT title from Copeland. So it's nice to see him back, because he's one of those, like, mocks. Like, he's just a reliable on-screen character, be it in matches or promos. You know what you're going to get, and that what you're going to get is going to be it's going to be entertaining. So it was great to see the whole fam out, and essentially he just went straight in for a cheap shot on Swerve. There was sort of a beat down, and there was the kill switch on the title, so totally laid him out. And I did think it was a choice to make Swerve look kind of weak this early on, especially after the whole sort of build up to Joe was that, he just can't seem to get it, and then him beating Joe kind of legitimised him as a champion. So then to just totally lay him out, I was a bit, I think I would have protected him a bit more personally. I don't want to be nitpicky or anything, but it is just my thoughts. I'm sure you can, after this, in the next few weeks, you can come out the next week, have a super heated promo about everything, and sort of gain the momentum back. It's not like, oh my god, they've killed his character, but I just felt like it was a bit of a choice, and I'm not sure if it was a choice that I would have made. Obviously, if I wouldn't have made it, then it clearly was terrible. No, Christian said that he hasn't forgotten, because at first I was like, it's a bit random, Christian Cage, and I felt like that a few times throughout tonight, but then I'm like, oh yeah, like I think back to the history of people who have had feuds in the past, and yeah, suddenly it is less random. Like he says, he hasn't forgotten how Swerve broke into Nick Wayne's training gym when he did the beatdown with AR Fox, and they proper bloodied him, and that was kind of the point as well when I really became a Swerve fan. It really showed the edge of the character. It's interesting that was during his heel tenure, and now we're at the complete other spectrum, but I thought it was nice that they brought that back. And also at All In, I believe, they were a tag team against Sting and Darby, and they lost in the coffin match, I believe. So yeah, I guess that is, enough momentum. He is a great father figure, so obviously he's concerned, that this man is just the representative of the AEW brand, and he's preaching to be this great guy when obviously he has, not only did he make him lose at, the biggest pay-per-view of his career in AEW, but also that he launched an attack on Nick Wayne back in the day, there would be bad blood there. I suppose that did make sense. And then just to sort of amp it up a bit more, Killswitch actually got down and yanked out a lock of Swerve's hair, which was a pretty gnarly visual. There was quite a lot going on, so I feel like it did kind of get lost, because then the crowd, well, it made me laugh, because I can't remember which one of them. It might have been Excalibur, who was like, this is just barbaric. You know, how could he do this? And then the crowd are just like, eat it. Like, the crowd are just like even more bloodthirsty. And then it was quickly on to the next segment. So I feel like that's a really, I don't know, interesting kind of, like, a gnarly visual. And I feel like maybe they could have focused on it a little bit more in terms of, like, timing. You know, because like I say, there was a lot going on in the beatdown, but I feel like, do you know what I mean? Like, in terms of production and in terms of, like, maybe just get the camera on that a little bit more. Have Swerve sell it a bit more, because that's a great shot, and it's a great visual for the feud, in terms of, like, when you put the video package together at the end, that'll be part of the montage. You know, you'd think in next week's, which I'm assuming would be the next week's Fired Up Babyface promo, he'll, you know, sell it, be it like touching his head, or I'm not sure. I'm sure they'll do something. Maybe he's like patched up or something. But yeah, I just felt like maybe there could have just been just a little bit longer focus on it, because it was, like I say, a great, interesting sort of unique way of quite literally ripping into your opponent. There's a lot of unique offense actually this week's episode. Like I say, we quickly moved on to a House of Black video, just basically saying they accept the Cope Open and that he's not going to know which one of them it is going to be. But it was Buddy Matthews who came out for the TNT title. And yeah, I was happy that they gave it to Buddy. It feels like he kind of gets the scraps in the House of Black, obviously, when you're in a trio, and they're all amazing wrestlers, and there is always going to be one who is going to, you know, like in BCC, you got Wheeler Yuta. It still gets matches, but, you know, he gets less. But yeah, it was nice to see him get this moment on Dynamite as well, not just Collision. And the kind of impression that I got of this match, especially at the start, was that physically and stats-wise, they're very evenly matched. They kind of were going toe for strength. And, you know, that really was cemented by after Picture in Picture, it sort of came back and they were lying, just exhausted. Because, like I say, the first half of the match was just trying to do a move. The other one does it back. Neither one can seem to, like, knock the other one fully off their feet. You know, just, it was a slobber knocker. It was a bit of a slugfest. And, like I say, I quite enjoyed the top rope. They were taking shots at each other, and after one shot too many, they both were too dazed and fell down, just completely took the fall. I thought that was great, and yeah, that was then into the 10 count. Really nicely done. The colliding crossbodies as well, which then had Buddy Matthews coughing up blood in the corner as we went into Picture in Picture. I was like, oh my god, that was crazy. Like, that's what I mean, like, the story of the match was sort of that they were just bringing each other to their limits, but they were both matching the limits. I don't know, it was, because they both are, like, quite, well, Copeland's really tall, like, he's really tall. I want to say he's, like, 6'5" or 6'4", right? I don't know. And Buddy Matthews, like, he's you know, he's got some bulk on him. Beefy boy, so yeah. And after that came back and it went into its third gear, which was a bit more fast paced. Neither of them again really getting the upper hand until the end, where Matthews kind of set him up for the stomp. Copeland kind of reversed it and used the momentum of him bouncing off the ropes to turn it into a spear, and he won 1, 2, 3. Just great. Like, it got, like I say, went through two Picture in Pictures, so it got a decent amount of time. It was a fun match, and it won me over as well, because on paper it's not something I'd be like super hyped to see. But it was great, and it just, again, like these little great, I don't want to say small, but these little matches, I'm just really appreciative of them to be able to watch them in Copeland's career at this stage. You know, like, I know it's obvious, but you know, we never thought he was going to wrestle again, so to be able to see him just in a weekly TV show in Canada. I know he had like his WWE run before, you know, it's not like, oh my god, this is new or anything, but I don't know, like, I'm still, like, I was a big Edge fan back in the day, so I'm still super appreciative of it. And, you know, if we'd gone back to, I don't know, maybe like, my brain's shot, but I'm trying to think, if we went back to about 2018 Raw SmackDown, and Buddy Matthews was there, Murphy? God, I'm trying to think of his name. Murph Dog. Oh, fucking Murph Dog. No, because his finish used to be Murphy's Law. Anyway, we'll call him fucking... When he was Murph Dogging about, right, on WWE, and, you know, he was a decent mid-card as he is in AEW. You know, you wouldn't think that you'd be able to watch him. And he wouldn't be at the front of your mind either for a matchup. Like, if someone said in 2017, 2018 or whatever, before his return, or, like, if Edge could come back, who would you want him against? And I'd be like, right, let me tell you, Kenny Omega, Will Ospreay, you know, people like that would be at the top of my card. Okada, but not necessarily like the mid-carders, but it's still great. Does that make sense? It's still great, and it's still lovely to see. So yeah, but the post-match was super interesting, and it all linked back into, if we remember at Dynasty, he got misted, which I was a bit hesitant about that angle, because, like I said, spooky shit and misting and shit coming out of people's mouths and being sprayed on people's faces is just, it's not me. It's not me, you know, it's not for me, really, but I'm liking the way this has been delivered. So, essentially, he beat down Matthews, which I know Comms put it over as like, oh, well, he's trying to get his vengeance, trying to send a message to the House of Black, which I do understand, but it is quite heelish to do that. And he got Matthews in a position, he had the 2 steel chairs, setting him up for the concerto, which is very interesting, because that is kind of a signature of Christian. And then lights came out, Malachi came out, and he said to do it. So then it was like, oh, well, is he going to do it and sort of shaft Matthews out of the House of Black? I don't know. But then Matthews also like, do it. And they were kind of egging him on, and he was like confused, I think. Like, when Malachi was saying it, he was, like, considering it, I think, because he was still in that heated moment. But then when Matthews was like, do it to me, it's kind of like that moment of confusion of, what? This is too weird, you know? This is too weird. But still, he was considering it. And then just as it was, like, almost he was about to do it, they disappeared. And he was left just trying to take it all in. So yeah, clearly the mist has started to corrupt him. I like how it's sort of slow burn, it's not straight away he's come out brood mode. But you know, with the shades of Christian, are we looking at potentially after Christian's done with the Swerve feud, do we then unite the two and we turn Cope heel and we have that Christian and Copeland tag team reunion, Christian and Edge vintage tag team rerun? Because clearly that is the end goal. That's how he wants to go out with Christian. So the reason he's in AEW is to work with him. So they're going to find their way back to each other. And like I say, it seems it's going to be corrupted by House of Black. But yeah, I mean, there's many angles where they can go from that, because if he does turn heel, how is that going to bring him to Christian? I don't know. There's so many strings. Like, is Christian going to turn more face? I know it sounds impossible, but is Swerve going to turn heel and then we're going to have a double turn? And I'm just throwing ideas out, but it's yeah, it's great. It's fresh. I'm excited for the possibilities, and I don't know which way they're going to turn down because there's many great ways they can do this. But like I say, I'm obviously the ahead. Sounds fucking great. And with them as a tag team, all different people they can go against, the Bucks, FTR, all these new matchups. It's endless. But even right now, just right now, the Christian Swerve stuff and the Copeland House of Black stuff. Now I'm not a big House of Black girly. Like, I'll hold my hands up. Like, again, that ain't a bit of me. Like Love Island, that ain't a bit of me. Kenny Omega, that's a bit of me. I pull him for a chat, but House of Black, nah, it's not really my type. So yeah, but I'm enjoying it. So I think that says a lot. So we will see where that will go in the future. Again, in terms of things that I wasn't massively interested in, well, like at the prospect of, and then was totally won over after, was Samoa Joe versus Isaiah Cassidy, which again, very random. I thought, God, like, yeah, Joe lost at Dynasty, but God, he had a great run with the title, and you built him up so strong, and is it really that he just gets beaten by Swerve, and now he's just running just a standard banger? Because that's what I thought this was going to be a little bit. I had the concern of, and you might think that's crazy, Estelle. Like, of course Joe was just going to squash him, but AEW does have a tendency sometimes to just put someone who is quite high on the card, someone mid on the card, and they just have a simple banger, i.e., I can't remember which pay-per-view it was, but Swerve meant to go against someone and ended up with Dustin Rhodes, and rather than just a simple beatdown, a simple squash with the cement block? Yeah, cement block, which is what it should have been, ended up being like a 20-minute match with Dustin Rhodes. It was just ridiculous. So yeah, I might have some concerns, but they're not unfounded. Okay, but no, this was great, and it was so fun to watch as well. Joe was instantly on the assault, and Cassidy was just, he played it so well. He was kind of at the start kind of hyped up and ready to go, but then it was like actual fear, when he kind of threw him up in the air and that little screech, the way he sold the moves, at the risk of overselling maybe, but I think, is it overselling when it comes to Joe? Is there any other way to take, the muscle buster? I don't know, but it was just really entertaining. I really liked the no-sell dive, when he did sort of the flip and just landed on his back, but also, ooh, brutal, just for an episode of Dynamite, like, ooh, nasty, but entertaining. And like I say, it ended with the muscle buster for the 3 count, but it was fun, and I don't think it even though it was quite a squash match, it didn't damage Isaiah Cassidy, I don't think, too much, because, well, there isn't really that much to damage in the nicest possible way. And also, like, he just came across as, like, white meat, fresh face, baby face, who's just doing their best, and they're just, like, you rooted for him in a way. I mean, obviously I wanted Joe to annihilate him, but, like, you rooted for him. Maybe I was rooting for him just to watch him get hurt by Joe, but I still rooted for him, and I still had fun. So, yeah, and I mean, I thought Private Party were, like, just doing, because Mark Quinn came back from his injury, and I thought, like, they were doing things, so it's a bit weird that, he's back to doing solo stuff again. I'm not, maybe it's just to sort of keep him in people's minds, keep him in the rotation, because a tag team sort of divisions being overshadowed maybe by the Bucks and FTR thing, but yeah, it was entertaining. And then went to a little Sky Blue promo, and she was calling out Willow for a shot at the TBS title on Rampage. And then we had another segment with Orange Cassidy, and he referenced a street fight on Rampage, which, my God, if there's one thing best friends know how to do, it is a street fight on Rampage. Like, wow. And he said Chuck Taylor will never wrestle again. Tear. Yeah. And Trent came out and said Orange is making it all about himself, which, I mean, yeah, you can see why he would see it from that point of view, which I think is like the whole point of Trent's heel turn, is he's just at an emotional breaking point, so it makes sense. And, you know, I think it can be fun to have a delusional heel, like full-on delusion, but then you've really got to play into it. But I think overall, like, the heel should always, even if they're delusional, believe they're right, and you should have, as the viewer, logically you can paint the numbers, like 1, 2, 3, like you understand how they've come to that conclusion. So yeah, and essentially he said they can never wrestle again because kind of in the street fight he had his foot on the window of the glass on the door of the car, real glass, and sort of just smashed it into it. So that's kind of the angle they're going for. Yeah, he ran for Trent, Orange Cassidy did, after this, but he was stopped by the security and Chris Statlander. And he was sort of there to the side. And Chris and the security now sort of moving towards Trent to sort of deal with that situation. But then, this was fucking random. Don Callis comes out and sort of whispers something to Orange Cassidy and sort of ushers him away. And before Stat or even Trent can take notice of the situation, he's already gone. And they look and he's gone. They're seeing the back of Callis and Cassidy. Yeah. Not a pairing I would have thought of, but I'm intrigued. You know, the Callis family could sometimes be a bit stale, you know. And Cassidy don't really have much to do, so, and the best friends angle, the feud is it's interesting. It's not like, you know, oh my god, a life-changing feud, but it's fun, it's interesting, it's emotional. So yeah, why not mix it all up together? Why not put him in there? And I love crossover in shows, because then you can cross it over with Ospreay, who's trying to get away from it. You can bring in Takeshita. I would say Hobbs, but he's injured. You know, there's a lot. And then that Ospreay stuff will tie into the main program eventually with Swerve. I like it. I like when there's a chain of things, not just Wrestler A and Wrestler B are in feud 1. Wrestler C and Wrestler D are in feud 2. And it's like everything's separate and contained, and that ain't real life, is it? Like, people have factions, people have affiliations, people have vested interests, people have different levels of connections in the workplace. So yeah, I enjoy that booking style a lot, and I'm super intrigued as to what's going to happen. You know, the way I kind of read into it is Callis sort of preys on the weak, the vulnerable, those with malleable minds. And Orange Cassidy is quite weakened at the minute. He lost his international title and now his friends are fighting. He's had to watch one of his friends, you know, be taken out by his other best friend. He's never going to wrestle again. And then he's just being called selfish. Like, obviously he's at an emotional rock bottom, so what better time for Callis to prey on him? So yeah, super interesting stuff, intrigued, and repeating myself again, but can't wait to see where it goes. Many directions that we can go in. Then we got another segment backstage, Renee with the Bucks. They sort of asked how she was doing, then talked over her. Just brilliant little, I want to call it heel microaggressions. But they sort of pushed themselves to the side for Jack Perry and said, this is who you really want to be talking to. And he just, again, repeated verbatim that he just wanted to protect AEW. And someone had to make a sacrifice, which, you know, plays into the real life situation of the tensions being so high backstage. And yeah, it was only a matter of time before it came to boiling point again and someone was going to say, I'll do something, and there was going to be some kind of fallout with Punk. So, and it was a sacrifice that he had to make. He is that righteous, Like, yeah, he's a heel, but he had to do it. He's like Thanos. He was sacrificing for the greater good. So there's a bit more character explanation. Yeah, and again, continuing with that presence of the Elite, that heavy presence of the Elite throughout the show. And then next up, we got Jericho versus Shibata for the FTW title. He got a little pop, bless him, for being in Winnipeg. It never fails to make me laugh, though. That stupid start, that kind of that Def Rebel start of I am the learning tree. Like, it's so fucking goofy. I can't take it seriously. And you know, it was just nice to see him out, and he was smiling, and not just because he's trying to sell his character, but you can tell like he's genuinely happy, and a happy Jericho. A Jericho who's enjoying the creative. You get more out of him, you know. Because like I say, he's been kind of lifeless before this the past few months. And the fact that he's leaned into it now, and you can tell he's really enjoying it and enjoying the storyline and enjoying where it's going to go. And that's nice to see, and that makes me want to get into it more, you know, rather than someone who's just kind of sullen in the background, like, yeah, let's have another mentor match, you know, like, it's just way more enjoyable. But yeah, like I say, it sounds a lot like a Def Rebel theme. I've been highly enjoying those little parodies of the WWE wrestler theme songs. Very good, very entertaining. But yeah, like I say, you know, the first thing, Shibata vs Jericho for the FTW Championship, what the hell, but Shibata and Hook have kind of had an affiliation now for a while, so yeah, like it makes sense. He's a friend of Hook, and Hook has been semi-written off TV from his injuries sustained during the title match at Dynasty. And wow, I want to say as well, like, I know anytime I just lion salt, I always write down my notes, that lion salt, but it is just so impressive, and the distance that he gets off it really is quite something. I also saw a post going round, I saw on Reddit, and it was like, it got me thinking, because one of the main sort of criticisms towards Jericho is his age, that he's too old to wrestle, but then people had other wrestlers on there, like The Rock, 51, Billy Gunn's 60, there might have been someone else as well on there, and people were just kind of pointing out the hypocrisy of, like, the criticism of him being criticised. Obviously, it's not that simple. It's not just people are just being mean to Jericho for no reason. Like, no, we had criticism because he was fucking boring. Okay, and, like, those other guys have been entertaining and have been, well, I mean, with Rock it was a bit begrudgingly, but eventually putting over younger talent. He put over Action Andre, I know, but still, you know, that's besides the point. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting. But yeah, I just thought it's interesting because, you know, I definitely think it was part of it, and then it's easy for people to say, oh, well, if someone's older, they can't wrestle. And yeah, I mean, in terms of, like, physically in the ring, should they be having the main event of the show, the 50-minute, pay-per-view main event? No, but there is always a place. I think there's a place for, as long as you're entertaining, which Jericho wasn't before, but now, you know, he's picking it up again. As long as someone's entertaining, I don't think age really should come in between it, because there's always a role in wrestling that someone can play, be it on comms, be it manager, be it on-screen authority. So I guess it's like how the person is used, I want to say, you know, in terms of age. Maybe as someone gets older, we have to reconsider how we're using them. But yeah, just because I've never really thought about that. I'm like, oh shit, yeah, like Daddy Ass is 60, and no one's really calling for him to retire anytime soon. And like I say, in terms of innovation, this match was certainly that of great innovation. When they got the black little bag out, and, you know, on comms, like, we all know what the black little bag means, and it was hockey pucks. Words escape me, but yeah, hockey pucks. Canada Fucking Canada, let's go. So yeah, they were loving that shit. I was happy for him. Like, oh bless Canada. Anyways, and there was some suplexes over that, mainly to Jericho. I think he took them all, actually. I think there was 3 that he took on there. So, you know, big up that. And you know, the really fun part about this match was when they kind of played in the strong style with the gimmick, I guess, of the FTW match, which typically has sort of like a street fight kind of vibe. So he got out the bin, he got out the lid with Hook 730 written on it, and then he got out the actual bulk of the bin, threw it over Shibata's head, was beating him with a kendo stick. This was fun. And then Shibata just starts no-selling it in the bin and sort of starts like walking over to him with the bin on his head. Jericho's just hitting him frantically like, what the hell's going on? You know, like in that kind of Japanese style of when someone's striking someone or punching someone or kicking someone, then they just keep like walking towards them. Very like Ibushi is a master of that. But yeah, it was just so entertaining. And then when he got him right in the corner, he started headbutting him with the bin. Like, it was just like, what? But also, I love it. I'm obsessed. So yeah, and then they had another little moment where they had the kendo stick, sat down, and just started clobbering each other with the kendo sticks. They had a little chop bit in the middle as well. I've said it many times, just so entertaining. And just as he was about to get a table out, Big Bill came out and chokeslammed Shibata through the table, and Jericho just picked up the 1, 2, 3. In terms of intrigue, can't say my intrigue's super high as to how big, like the whole Big Bill thing. He came last week and he was like, I want to be part of the learning tree. Fuck knows why. Because, like, I mean, I guess he did beat Hook, but fuck knows why. I mean, I guess it's something for Big Bill to do. I get it, he's on the paycheck. Bring him in somewhere. You know, Ricky Starks is out injured at the minute. But at the same time, it's just like, why? Like, I'm sure there's a way to make it entertaining. I'm sure there's a way that they can play off, but it's not. I'm not sat here like I am with Copeland and Christian and Swerve, and I'm like, ooh, all the different things we could do with Big Bill. I don't really give a shit, but it's not painstakingly boring or painstakingly awful yet. I'm not trying to bury Big Bill. Like, I don't even hate him. It's just like, you know, just Big Bill, innit? Like, I don't know, but it was a really fun match overall. And I guess they kind of had to work out a way for Jericho to win because, you know, Shibata couldn't really win. That'd be a bit too random. But yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see what's next for the learning tree, and obviously Hook will come back at one point, and we'll get round 2, and he'll pick up the belt. And I mean, I guess it depends how far along in the future we do it, but potentially write Jericho off TV for his autumn Fozzy tour. Yeah, so we got another little segment. Willow put over the Sky Blue Rampage match. She accepted, had a bit of a heated moment. She was like, you know, a bit of fighting talk, which was nice to see. You know, not so much edge that she's heel, but you know, it's nice to sort of see her be passionate and have that sort of edge as champion, kind of stepping her character up a bit. And Stokely popped off about the Elite. It kind of descended into madness towards the end in the greatest way possible. They were banned from ringside for the Rampage match, that is, Stat and Stokely, but Stokely just sort of had like a bit of a breakdown. Stokely is great, you know? I think when we did the tier ranking, I was like, I just don't really get it, and now I'm like, oh my god, like that's one of my biggest regrets. We'll definitely have to do another AEW roster ranking in the future, I'm sure, as like more signings, because God knows Tony Khan loves the signing. But we'll definitely have to do another ranking because, I was wrong about that man. He is great. Next up, we've got a nice little match. Brian Cage versus Claudio. A little mini meat chant at the start. This was just great. You know, I feel weird talking about Claudio without Lucy being here. I'm not gonna lie. But this was just a fun little matchup. It wasn't super consequential, but at the same time, like, it was just, I don't know, two dudes in different factions just having a match, and it was fun. The little 619 spots, the swing into the submission, which was where Brian Cage tapped. It was just a match. It was just a good match on paper. That was its intention. Just some good wrestling. And it was kind of nice to sort of have that breather of, like, I feel like I've been kind of overloaded with story in the best way possible. Of course, I would never complain about that. But it was nice to sort of be like, oh, now I can just watch a wrestling match and enjoy it. And, like, I don't have to overthink too much. I know wrestling it's just so intellectual. Like, you wouldn't get it. You wouldn't get it, guys. Insert fucking Rick and Morty copy pasta here. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. And then we got a little segment with Rocky Romero just basically saying, I'm washing my hands of it, the best friends drama, I'm done, I'm peacing out. So essentially just he's going to be doing his own thing. Didn't give a fuck before, don't give a fuck now. Moving on. Then we got Mariah May versus Serena Deeb. Again, kind of hard, as I've been into many times, for me to get invested if I don't really care about the people. I respect Serena, her work back in WWE in the late 2000s with Punk. And then she was a trainer. Yeah, she was a trainer in the Fed for a bit. But yeah, I mean, as far as AEW goes, I just don't care. And Mariah May, meh, like, and you know what? This is a me problem. I know it is. The story, and she's great in the ring. They're both great in the ring. It was a great match. Mariah May is very entertaining in the ring. She can fucking go. But I just meh. You know, that RuPaul, meh. That's how I'm feeling about that, to be honest with you. Bit of a weird ending. Like I say, there were some great moments before I get into the ending of the match, of a bit more fast paced, kind of rotating round in holds as like the other person would gain the upper hand. But yeah, like I said, weird sort of ending in that Toni Storm threw in the towel with a submission on Mariah May. It was just like, why? I mean, maybe that'll be explained, maybe that's the whole point of it, but it's like, it's not a title match, it's not a super consequential match. Like, I didn't feel like in the submission she was going to tap out. It just felt a bit awkward. And then Serena Deeb versus Toni Storm has been booked for Double or Nothing. Like, who asked for that? Like, what? Again, I don't want to just rant about women's wrestling. I don't want to be that person. I want to be positive. But what the hell is going on here? And then on comms they were like, oh, she's been 5-0 in 2024. Well, that's lovely, Excalibur, but I ain't fucking seen it. Where the fuck was this 5-0? And I tell you what, there weren't fucking big matches with it. It wasn't like a big deal, like, oh, she's 4-0, oh, she's 3-0 when she was doing it. No, because I would have heard about it. I didn't hear nothing about it. I thought she just came out and a match with Mariah May. And suddenly she's like number one contender, and then she's booked for the match at Double or Nothing. And I'm sorry, does she have like the charisma for like the next weeks going forward for like this massive like feud of like, this is the women's title. This is the peak. This is the peak of women's wrestling. I'm not dissing Serena Deeb as a worker. I'm sure she's a great worker, a great person. I'm sure of that. But is that who you put in the number one spot? Is that your hottest person? Because I tell you right now, I'm fucking ranting now. I tell you right now, for the world title, it should be the hottest person or someone with a lot of momentum behind him, or someone with a lot behind him. And to have it be, and I get, like, yeah, you can build people up, like, Christian Cage, is he, like, the hottest right now? No, but he has the charisma and the appeal to the fans, and he's over enough that, like, he might be there and he might need to be here, but he will quickly get to there and then some. I'm exasperated. Am I the only one? Like, what? What? Like, fair enough, you're booking that next week for Dynamite, but for the main event, and I just know, like, there's going to be no build for this. Maybe you're just using her as a catalyst for the Mariah and Tony Storm thing, and really that's going to be what you're mainly going to be touching on, is the tension between them two whilst going against Serena. And maybe you have it that Mariah May throws in the towel for the match for Tony during Serena Deeb. That's how I'd do it anyway. And then it's like there's tension there. But is that fair to anyone then? Because it's like, I don't know. Like, couldn't you have picked a better competitor as your third? Because Serena Deeb is just blank. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I guess that's why maybe they picked her for that type of feud. But it's just blank. It's out there. Like, you can still do that and have this subplot line, but have a more dynamic person. And I'm not saying she doesn't have the potential to be dynamic. If you'd started this build way before with Serena, all I've seen is one fucking video package a couple of months ago being like, oh, she's the escape artist. And I was like, oh, that's a cool video package. Touched on it during one of these review episodes. But what? Like, anyway, okay, fucking weird shit there. And then moving on, because this rant could go for a long time. Copeland was then interviewed with Renee, and I liked this a lot. It was very subtle. Renee was like, are you okay? And he was like, yeah, I'm okay. It was very subtle. It was just nice, a nice slow burn, like a little Yankee candle, just burnt. Well, no, fuck it, cost of living. None of us can afford a Yankee candle. I don't know. Fucking a Primark candle. It's a nice little, well, it's a bit harsh to compare him to a Primark candle, innit? Anyway, shut the fuck up, Estelle. Anyway, like a slow candle sort of burning away. You get my point. And then Kyle O'Reilly came out and he was like, yeah, man, like, I respect you a lot, and if you ever need me, I have you back. And I was like, ooh, that's nice. Because I feel like the way I was kind of reading it is, in the future, Copeland will definitely kind of turn on Kyle O'Reilly, maybe. Like, House of Black will get in his ear, or maybe he'll get paranoid about Kyle, and, you know, he's a bit of, like, collateral damage to go through. And Kyle O'Reilly's just, like, a pathetic person right now. And I mean that in the nicest. I'm loving it. I'm loving his sort of pathetic character. You know, like, I don't mean that. That's the way, like, he's just pathetic. Like, I just want to give him, like, a hug. So, like, I felt that would be impactful for me, like, seeing his childhood hero beat him up. But, yeah, and then we got on to the main segment. Kenny fucking Omega, like, my fave. Basically coming back. He's been out with diverticulitis. We haven't really heard from him much other than his Twitch streams. Yeah, other than, like, when he's been streaming. But it was just great. He had this sort of big build-up by Justin Roberts, who was just putting over just how great he is. And I was like, yeah, he did that. He did that on you. Nicki Minaj did it on him. And then he came out, and he's from Manitoba, Winnipeg, so obviously the crowd is loving him, as they should. And yeah, he had this nice little segment, which was just lovely. I mean, it's just lovely to hear from him and to get him to have that moment with the crowd, because I'm sure and as he spoke of, it must be very difficult for him to be away from wrestling. So even though he isn't in the ring actively performing, like, just being able to be there and being motivated by the crowd and hearing them cheer him on during this time of rest and recovery must mean a lot to him, I would imagine, as the empath that I am. But yeah, he said that he was 24 hours away from dying when he went to the hospital, which is just fucking insane. Thank God we don't live in that timeline. And any blunt force trauma to the stomach could kill him, to which he was like, well, when can I go back to AEW? And I was like, I love you, but I also hate you, because, like, I know that is that is how you think. Like, wrestling is just thirst for everything. And that's kind of how he got into his position, is he just kind of ignored his symptoms. I was like, oh, I love you, but also, you stress me out so much. And yeah, just sort of had that moment, that face-to-face moment with the audience at home and there in the arena. It was just great for him to just have that, and you could see that it meant a lot to him, and it meant a lot to me, and I'm sure to many others who are big fans of him, to just see him again and hear from him. It was, it's just a little morale boost, and it's like, yeah, he's gonna come back. I need to see him for my ADHD object impermanence. Not that I would ever forget about it. Which, he kind of went on to talk about how people are already forgetting that he's, he is the best bout machine. He is the match of the year man. And, it's great that all this new talent's coming. Okada and Swerve's rising up, and Ospreay, and he was talking about Dynasty, the match with Danielson and Swerve, but how, like, don't forget about him. And I'm like, yeah, don't you forget about Kenny. Like, real 100 emoji, fire emoji. Yeah. So he was then kind of shifted into how the Bucks are acting out of line, and obviously he's not there to really kind of put them in their place. And he said, well, he kind of transitioned, a great segue, talking about how he needs a fucking, I was going to say colonoscopy bag, but that is not the right word at all. The colonoscopy is something completely different. You know what I mean. A little bag. A shit bag. And then he went on to be like, the Bucks are shit bags. So that was great. And they've been acting out, and he's also an EVP, and now he's here. He's going to exercise his power as an EVP, because he's not going to just stand for it, essentially. And then Okada interrupted, which is so poignant, because it's like this, I know he'd kind of shifted a bit, but it's like this emotional moment with the crowd, and for him to come out, and obviously all the history in New Japan with Okada, and how we're all foaming at the mouth anticipating the next Okada Omega match. So it was a great little teaser for that. He came out and he said, no, like, I'm number one now, like, I've replaced you. And Kenny was like, just give me a few months, and it's kind of like giving that hope of, like, All In. I don't think we're going to get it for All In, though. He hasn't even had his surgery yet. I'm pretty sure he's going to need that surgery. And I'm pretty sure this angle and the way it kind of worked is they've written him off TV now, for the foreseeable, probably for the end of the year while he gets the surgery. Maybe All In 25 is what we're looking at. Realistically, guys, we've got to be realistic. It's painful, I know. But yeah, then Jack Perry came behind him and attacked Kenny from the back, the bastard. But also I was like, oh, all my faves in the ring together. I'm loving it. And yeah, it was great. Jack Perry had this great little moment where he had the chair and the security company. It was kind of like a video game. It was like bam, bam to like each of them. But Kenny got the upper hand with the Snapdragon, which it was just one little move. But I was like, oh, it was so good. I've been deprived of my Snapdragon suplexes, but immediately clutched the stomach. Obviously, we don't know how much of it is a work. You would assume. The thing is, though, it's like you would assume that it's like he's okay to do that, but then he literally is like in his promo. Oh, yeah, Doc said I might die. I want to come back to wrestling. So it's like, although I do think this is overall like a bit of a worked shoot in that, like, he is injured, obviously, and he's going to need the surgery. And he took the bumps, and he probably was okay to take them. At the same time, I'm like, because just knowing how good old Kenneth is, it's like, I'm sure he'd say he was fine even if he wasn't. Anyway, he went for the V-trigger, but Okada intercepted him with the chair. No, sorry. He caught him, and it was Jack Perry that delivered the jab to the stomach, which is great, because Jack Perry's one you really want to get all that heat on. And yeah, I mean, in terms of the story, it's fantastic. You know, it intensifies the heat and the hatred for the Elite. Again, like, it's just after this man's just been like talking about all of his trauma, how he nearly died. He's in, you know, even the smallest bump to like his stomach could kill him, and then he just gets like a jab to the stomach with a steel chair. It's a bit, you know, it's not a fun watch. But the heartbreaking moment came where he was just taken back, and he kind of uses the books to sort of kind of bring himself up, but he puts himself in the perfect position for the EVP trigger, which they deliver to him. FDR kind of come out then, and sort of they scram, and they sort of try to help, and I think the ending sort of scene was Kenny with the Doctor being seen to, and then that was it. So I mean, it was an episode of Dynamite. It was very, like I say, I feel like whenever I'm reviewing these sort of things, I have to think back to what I've said, and I've said many times that there's a lot of potential, a lot of exciting intrigue with a lot of these angles. Coming off of Dynasty, now we're building to Double or Nothing. I'm really intrigued for the long-term storytelling. I enjoyed pretty much nearly all the wrestling, and it was great to see the Elite threaded throughout the whole show. It was consistent, and it was just amazing to see Omega back, even for a short moment. It gave me something to live for, you know, like, oh, that's really sad actually, but, you know, like, it's just like, oh, hold on till, because he's going to come back, you know. And I think that was a great morale boost, like I say, as Kenny Omega fans, and I'm sure it was a great little morale boost for himself to just sort of say it and be like, I'm coming back. Yeah, I mean, in terms of what I would rate it, I think I'm going to go with an 8 out of 10. See, like, it's not low, but it's quite high. I think 10 is, like, for me, I'm not a Meltzer, you know. I'm not going to be like, oh, we're a fucking 15 out of 10, mate. Like, I want the ranking to mean something, okay? The out of 10 system means something, people. So 10 to me is like peak. Like, there's no flaws. 9 is like close. 8 is like, it is pretty high, you know. It's a high ranking. I thoroughly enjoyed it, but like I say, it wasn't perfect. And even though some big moments happened, it's not like, again, I'm not nitpicking, but just explaining my ranking on what kind of the way we sort of rank things is like 8. 8 is high, you know, but we have a tough system here, you know. It's tough to get a 9 or a 10. I mean, really, you could kind of see the rank system as out of 9, because 9 is like perfect, but then 10 is like impossible to reach, you know. I don't know, whatever way you want to do to make sense, but it was a great show. It was a great show, basically, is my conclusion. Thoroughly enjoyed. Can't wait to see where we go off from here. And yeah, we'll be back next week together. Thank God, order will be restored. There will be less sidetrack discussion of Primark candles, and all that bullshit. But yeah, we're back on the straight and narrow next week. Lucy will be back, and we will be back to our weekly showing of Dynamite reviews. But yeah, that's going to do it for today, cause I don't really have much news to talk about. I kind of weaved some of it in throughout the episode. And yeah, I mean, we're probably going to do some more questions next week. I know we have some on the back burner, which, apologies, but I want to wait for Lucy to answer them. But yeah, if anyone has any more questions, little Q&A about anything to do with wrestling, it doesn't have to just be AEW, it can be anything, we will answer it. Just drop us a comment. And any more episode ideas, We're still sort of thinking about other things we want to do, but I feel like it's only recently that we're sort of really becoming comfortable on camera and just sort of our episode structure and stuff. But yeah, we're always open to ideas. Thank you to all the kind comments as well, especially on our Dynasty video. I feel like that did quite well, you know, for us, and it brought in like quite an influx of subscribers. So if you came from the Dynasty video and you've made it to the end of here, wow, thank you very much. Hope you continue to enjoy our product, and yeah, we'll be back next week. Take care and watch next week, and like the video, and review us on Spotify, give us 5 stars, and also tell everyone about us, and tell everyone that we're the best podcast in the world, and comment something that'll boost my ego. Bye.
I must bid you adieu, goodbye, and good night, bye.
I wish you died in the womb!